Hello and welcome to Intuitive Journey with Desiree. I am Desiree Holmes-Cherini, your host. And today I'm going to ask the question, are you addicted to porn? No, not that kind. We're talking about fear porn. What's fear porn? Well, I think it's kind of appropriate that outside here, I live in the city, that I hear sirens going by right now as I begin this recording, and they go by often. Fear porn is things that make you fearful. It's those social media and news headlines that instill fear, and that can be very addictive. Something new to worry about all the time, something new to have us think, well, either the end is coming or that we need to protect ourselves, that we shouldn't leave our house, that we should leave our house, that we should move, that we should stay, that we should save our money, that we should move our money, that we should worry about our relationships when there maybe wasn't even anything wrong, that our children are going to grow up weird. That's likely anyway, but I mean, look at us, right? That we're going to be attacked, and just thinking about how insidious the fear porn headlines are, the news stories. How often there's actually, I think, a couple news venues that are about good news. They don't get a lot of traffic, and what we do get from most news stations, news headlines, most newspapers is fearful stuff, even alternative stuff. It's fearful stuff as well about be afraid of, the other side, whatever the other side is. and and it doesn't mean that some of, or even most of, what is being shared in reports isn't truthful or factual in many cases, but the way it's presented or the way that we are, I think, in a way, encouraged to respond is with fear. Why is that? Well, that's a whole nother episode about why would anyone want us to be fearful? Why would there be any group, entity, or individuals that would want to encourage fear in a group of people or individuals? And maybe I'll just follow straight on with where that comes from. That take a little more putting together than simply addressing the fact that we all should be aware of fear porn and be aware of how we're reacting to what we're taking in and what we're sharing. I'm not immune to it, and that's why I'm making this episode, because I've definitely had my highs and lows as far as responding to it, sharing in it, clicking and copying headlines. And of course, part of it is to share information, not share fear. And fortunately, a lot of the information can create fear. So this is where, as individuals, we need to be discerning on how much information, what information we take in. And we also need to be discerning on really looking at it and taking away the fear part and separating the facts and just learning if it's something that there's, to be gleaned from it rather than being afraid. Maybe you could think of it as when you get a headline or somebody shares something that's terrifying, to consider it like, this might sound a little weird, a little fluffy, but it can be a tool. Consider it like going to a scary movie. You get scared, but remind yourself that it's a movie, that it's not an imminent running through your house real thing, okay? But that being said, say it's a movie about a real story that's pretty scary, and it's something that did happen and could happen. Once again, take that step back, kind of lean back and say, okay, what am I going to do about that? What steps can I take to protect myself, to adjust my behavior so that I don't become a victim to whatever this is, and then release it? Because carrying around fear is just like carrying around anger. It's just like resentment. It's all those things that, you know what happens when you carry those inside of you? You create an unhealthy internal environment, both physically and mentally, and it does you no good. And on the more metaphysical, spiritual side of things, and this is not just made up, there we have a certain energy flow, a chi, an aura. And when and I think I've shared this on previous shows, and like I said, if I follow on with deeper dive talk on to why anyone would want anyone to be fearful, well, on the more metaphysical side, there are different levels of frequency to different emotions. And love is a very high, very positive, very healthy frequency that does indeed affect your well-being. Now, as you go down, fear is way down. And when someone says, you're low frequency, man, well, there's something to it. Fear lowers your frequency and makes you more susceptible to health issues, to mental illness, or depression, for example, substance abuse, and also just makes your immune system, like I said, lower, and you're more likely to get sick. So whatever you can do to adjust your way you take in information when you see these headlines that are just out there, or avoid them. Just like there are many people that just say, just don't watch the news. If there's something you need to know, it'll get to you, but you don't need to. Some people like have the news on all day long, and all it is boom, 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 fear, fear, hate, division, and maybe just minimize that. What's ironic is, me personally, one of the things that lowers my vibration and creates resentment or anger, that sort of state, is when I do see a news story where someone is encouraging division, separation, and hatred toward others. That's what gets me going, and I get angry and frustrated with that. So even that, even if I'm not fearful, there's a certain level of fear involved with that, of the people that will hear that message and take it on and create even more division and separateness in our world that could use more unity and more understanding and more civility. So, for example, of course, here we are. This is being recorded in December of 2022, and it's let's see, I guess around December 2019. What do we got? 19, 20, 21, 3 years. 3 years since the event of COVID being ushered in. And if you can just think of the many fearful headlines that we got with that, whether legitimate or not, fearful. Don't go out, don't breathe, stay away from your loved ones. You're going to kill your grandmother or grandmother, you're going to kill your grandchildren. Even just the way things were reported or encouraged were through the vehicle of fear. Recent headlines with the war going on between Russia and it is, headlines like world leaders saying we are closer to nuclear war than we have been in decades or ever. And what are we supposed to do about that? Like, the people reading this, what is the purpose? Once again, it's like, And is it true? I don't know. But there's like headlines that scare people. But what's worse is when someone is frightened and they have no power to change it as an individual. What do you do with that? Right? And of course, there's the politically here in the US and other countries, one side or the other side saying that side wants to, take away this or do that. And then the other side saying, these people are, domestic terrorists, or, you should be afraid of this particular political group. Creating again division and polarity within a single group of people that instead of finding something else to say. Anyway, I was inspired to have this talk other than headlines and all that. There was one recently that I saw and I thought, what kind of headline is that? What are they saying? And the headline said that people that are not vaccinated for COVID are more likely to have serious car accidents. And I thought, well, how, why, right? And so I read the study. I looked at all the references and all the things they looked up in order to put this paper together. It came out of Canada. It was sponsored by, I think, either the Canada's health organization, or at least it was came out of Toronto, so or that area. But it was a government-sponsored study, and but even the authors of the study said they are not saying that not having a COVID vaccine causes car accidents. They're saying that it is correlated with a certain with other behaviors of people, so that certain groups are more likely based on these different things. So bottom line is, after reading these correlations, the headline could as easily have been, low-income people are more likely to have serious car accidents, or uneducated people are more likely to have serious car accidents, or independent people are more likely to have serious car accidents. I could just go on and on. Now, any of those headlines would have said the same thing as their study, but the choice for the headline on this story was about not having a COVID vaccine, as if there was some sort of causation. But even the author said, no, there's not. We're not saying there's a causation. We're saying that it's part of it falls in with these other things, that a lot of those people were not vaccinated against COVID. And interestingly, there's quite a long list of references. A lot of the references were articles, studies, and such from other governments or places that talk about behavior, human behavior, and how to encourage certain behaviors within groups of people. And I can't help but think that using that headline was a bit of propaganda, fear porn, to encourage a behavior for those people that did not read the whole article and the study. So how many people actually read the whole article or the study when they see a fear porn headline? They just say, oh, truth. It said so. Okay. On that same subject of COVID, I remember in the beginning, there was a story about an infant, a newborn infant dying of COVID. And that was the headline, newborn infant dies from COVID. And I thought, wow. Of course, in reading, it was that the mother had COVID, was pregnant, had COVID, serious, in the hospital. She died of COVID, and her baby didn't survive because it was stillborn. Something like that. It was not that the baby had COVID and died. And once again, an example of a fear porn headline. Okay, and I'm not using only COVID here. I've talked about nuclear war and all this stuff, and finances. It's just those are a couple distinct examples of fear porn to lead people to a certain behavior or a certain mindset. And obviously, headlines about different political groups. Money is a big one right now, but how, dollar this or the Fed's that, or digital money. It's always something. It's always something. And so the point I'm trying to make, I'll repeat, be discerning. Don't just read a headline and make an assumption that it's always as it appears. There are a lot of inferences out there in headlines that you need as an individual, as an educated individual, as someone who actually isn't just going to take things at their surface value, to investigate, read, and understand, then decide, okay, this is what is really happening. When they start saying UFO invasion, yeah, right, go get your pots and pans and wear them on your head, but read the whole article. I don't know. I just wonder what they're going to come up with next to just try to scare people. And who's they? Well, like I said, that's going to take more investigating. So if you don't want to be afraid, if you don't like being afraid, make your choices about the information that comes in, see what you can do about that. But ultimately, the only thing you can truly take some control over is your own mind and body, your own responses, your response, and choosing to feel differently, choosing to create that energetic barrier between you and fear porn can only help benefit you and everyone around you. Yeah, there's weird stuff, bad stuff, but being afraid does not change any of it. So choose a higher vibration, choose to be educated, not terrified, not frightened. Choose to be happy at every opportunity. I hope this has given you some food for thought, and you will take it all in. Maybe watch, read less news, but when you do, stop and think, was that somebody just trying to get me addicted to fear porn? And don't get addicted. See you later. Bye.